issue, and I had no problems at all. So the GPS in these guys is actually really, really good. All right. Now next, moving on. Next thing I want to talk about with you guys is the call quality and speaker call quality on these devices. Now, this is pretty much, again, a tie across the board, except when it comes to speaker call quality performance. Now, in terms of call quality, I would say that both of these devices work extremely well. I didn't have any problems. I could hear the callers loud, crisp, and clearly through the built-in receivers, and they had no issues hearing me. They said it was no problem. Now, where this differs, however, is in speaker call performance. Whereas both of these devices get extremely loud and they work without issue, I find that on the Blu Life One X2, it gets a little bit more louder for my taste. I found that I kind of wanted to crank the Moto X Pure Edition only to realize that it was maxed out, whereas this got as loud as I needed it to without issue. So in the speaker call department, I'd have to give the Blu Life One X2 the edge. And overall call quality through the built-in receivers, I'd have to give it a tie. Alright guys, so the next thing I want to talk about with you guys are the cameras and the camera interfaces on these devices. Let's start with the Moto X Pure Edition here, guys. Now, when it comes to the Moto X Pure Edition, I would have to say that this is one of my favorite camera interfaces, guys. It's very easy to use and it's very straightforward, and the learning curve here is so simple. It's pretty much you tap to take a picture, like so. If you want to adjust your focus, you move that around. If you want to adjust your exposure, you move this little dial here till you get the proper exposure that you want. If you want to adjust your camera resolutions, you pull out the little side menu and hit there, and you can see this guy can shoot widescreen in 16:9, but you do take a megapixel bump down to 16.1 megapixels. To take advantage of all 21 megapixels, you're going to have to shoot in that 4:3 aspect ratio, and you guys can kind of see the difference there. Whereas this is widescreen, more full screen. When you bump it up to 21 megapixels, you get that letterbox effect. I kind of don't like that. Now, in terms of video, as I said, and as you can see right there, you can shoot in 1080p, you can shoot in 720p slow motion, and you can shoot in 4K. So video recording on this guy is pretty good. And you have your standard features, your HDR, your flash, your timer, all that good stuff. So that's that, guys. Now, in terms of the front camera, you get more of the same, except for I do not believe you have HDR on the front camera, but you can still record your videos in 1080p, and you can still take 720p slow motion videos with the front camera. And you do have the front facing flash, and the camera is 5 megapixels. And don't forget, if you want to take advantage of all 5 megapixels, again, you're going to be stuck in that 4:3 aspect ratio. And there you can see in real time, to get that widescreen, you're going to have to bump it down to 3.8 megapixels. And you can see it in real time, that letterbox effect that I don't like, guys. But yeah, that's it. It's pretty straightforward when it comes to the Moto X Pure Edition's cameras, and I like that about it. There's a little to no learning curve. You're easily able to pick this up and go and do what you need to do. And at the end of the day, as a end user or a consumer, that's really all we care about when it comes to the cameras and the camera interface. Because we'd rather be out there with our phones capturing those special moments than sitting there launching the camera and then having to set it up just to get that proper snap. So it is what it is. Now, it differs ever so slightly when we talk about the cameras on the Blu Life One X2. This is where you have a more traditional approach. So you launch the camera and you have your shutter button there. to get into your modes, you swipe this way and you have access to all your modes. Now you can set it up similar to the Moto X Pure Edition by clicking on the touch shot. So that just lets you tap the screen to take a shot. And this is how you can see your video recording and your resolution modes. So this guy only does 1080p video recording, 720p, and 480p. No slow motion, no 4K. None of that good stuff here. But you still have all of your other stuff. And you can see that this guy does shoot at 16 megapixels in that 4:3 aspect ratio. And you are going to get that letterboxy effect when you do it. Now, I can't show you this one real time because it's buried in the settings. But what I can tell you is that you can edit your settings so you can see the quick settings you want right across the top. So right here, I've set this up so I have all the quick settings that I think are important right across the top. So you can see right now it's in 16 megapixel mode at 4:3. And I usually shoot at 12 megapixels so you can see the difference. So let me switch that back, sorry. So you get that letterboxy effect. Alright. Again, if you swipe up, this brings you to the front-facing camera. And again, you have more of the same. You swipe this way to get to your modes. And you can see the front-facing camera pretty much parallels the back-facing one. So you can only shoot in 1080p. Alright, so no 4K, no slow-mo, no none of that stuff. But you do have a front-facing flash, and it's an 8 megapixel camera, and it works extremely well with the right lighting. So yeah, I don't know if I said it, but you swipe this way to get to your modes. Alright, and you swipe that way to get to your settings. Okay, so pretty straightforward. And again, it's really, really easy to use. No issues there. No issues whatsoever. So, that being said, in terms of cameras, guys, you guys may be wondering, which one do I give the edge to? Now, taking megapixel counts and resolution out of the equation, because pretty much with the right lighting and depending on the situation you're trying to shoot, you may be able to get a good picture with either one of these devices. So that being said, let's not be like, well, the Moto X Pure Edition has the higher megapixels, so it may take the better photos. Nah, let's not get on the megapixel race around these parts, because I've seen some cameras with lower megapixel counts pop off some really great shots. That being said, the winner in this department is the Moto X Pure Edition, and that's simply because the user interface is a lot easier to use and you have less stuff to mess around with. So you jump in, you set it up how you want, and you're good to go. Or you jump in, or you can just go straight to taking video, straight to taking a photo, whereas you may have those extra steps in the Blu Life One X2. So that's why the Moto X Pure Edition takes the edge in the camera interface and cameras department. Okay? But real quick, because I forgot, you can actually jump into the cameras quickly on both of these devices. On the Blu Life One X2, you just simply double tap the power button, and you're in. That quick, in there, snapping off photos. Alright? On the Moto X Pure Edition, quick flick of the wrist, and you're in the cameras, snapping. Just touch, it snaps, no problems. Alright? So that's how you do that. And they do have your standard Android shortcut from the lock screen, so you just swipe that way to get into it from the lock screen. So that covers the cameras and the camera interfaces on both of these guys. Right? Good. Don't forget to check out video samples and photo samples. For the photo samples, follow me on Google+, because I always upload those images on Google+. For the video samples, please check out my video samples playlist, guys. Alright, let's keep it moving, everyone. So this would be the point where I talk about the gaming, and pretty much we're going to call that a tie, because these two processors in both of these devices, processors and GPUs, are road tested, and they can pretty much handle almost any game that you throw at them. And if you're a casual gamer like myself, you're going to have no issues, okay? So the CPU in this guy is the Snapdragon 808. It's an octa-core processor and an Adreno 418 GPU. And the CPU in this guy is the Snapdragon 430. That's a quad-core processor. Wait, is it? Yeah. I think it is. No, that's an octa-core processor. My bad, guys. And an Adreno 505 GPU. Alright? And pretty much these guys will handle any games or any casual games that you throw at them, because I'm not too much on the heavy 3D intensive games. The only games that I pretty much play nowadays is Asphalt 8 and CSR Classics. I may do the occasional Moto Combat or the NBA Jams, but pretty much, or Fruit Ninja, but my go-to games now are Asphalt 8 and CSR Classic. And for playing those games, these two phones work perfectly. So in terms of gaming, I'm going to have to call it a tie. Now next, we're going to talk about the benchmarks. Again, benchmarks are just raw numbers, and I'm going to go ahead and skip over them in this video because, again, both of these processors are tried and true and well tested and broken. So, but if you do want to see the raw numbers on these guys, please check out my full reviews of these phones, which will be linked down below in the video description. But again, I'm gonna let the numbers speak for themselves if you check out the full reviews. But again, don't worry about the numbers, guys. At the end of the day, all you guys need to be concerned about is the overall user